So we sent it to muzzerd348@gmail.com because you know it's actually on his TikTok profile.
It is.
Just
It's
there.
funny.
Dear Muzzer, us here at the Uneducated Nuffies are a sports podcast that look at AFL and other sports. Our hosts John T. Perry and Ethan Stone are huge fans of your content, with Ethan as well being an avid Carlton supporter. We're reaching out to you to see if you'd be willing to come onto the show, either in person or via a Zoom call, to talk or recap Carlton and other club seasons. We film normally on a Monday evening, but we'll be willing to accommodate to your timetable to sort out an interview. If you have any further questions, feel free to email us back and we'll get back to you. Kind regards, producer.
Yeah. That's I hate that.
I love it. Imagine Muzz on the show just gas bagging Collingwood.
Do you know the only time I've ever commented on a Muzzer video, it got deleted by him. The only one time.
Yeah, he's a legend. Like he speaks his mind.
It's the same dribble.
Yeah, but you give him a hard time because he doesn't have a hearing aid.
That doesn't mean he can't be held accountable for his takes.
No, because his takes are always fine. He never makes a bad take.
He said that Carlton contest possessions are worth more.
Yeah, they are. Roll the sting. We're frauds.
It's France Olympics. He decides, I'll just break my kneecaps and go make a sandwich.
Like you're moving like you're fucking dancer. You look at this cha-cha-cha.
Hello and welcome back to the Uneducated Nuffies. I am, as always, John T. Perry. I am joined by Ethan Stone. Ethan, how was your weekend?
It was pretty good. We got up to a fair bit of stuff. I went to go watch the AFLW at Windy Hill. Got to see Essendon play against Fremantle.
Well, watch.
Well, I worked.
Well, actually, you claimed it was your game, wasn't it?
I was a part of the broadcast, yes.
But you claimed it was your game, like you were playing it.
It was my game that I was working on, yes.
Anyway, what else did you do?
Watched a bit of soccer, got the soccer back on, saw Arsenal have a 1-1 draw to Brighton. I had a mate of mine have a bit of a sook about it. It was very nice. But besides that, I had a pretty quiet week. I think I was due for another quiet one. I'm waiting to have a big one this week for Saturday night. We prepare for a massive battle. We go into war. But we'll get to that later. How was your weekend?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it now. That hurt my head. I had a pretty quiet one. I had a really, really fun Saturday night. I got lit, right?
You got lit.
I was sober at a party that we're at for an hour and a half. No, that's pretty lit.
What did you end up doing, actually? Apparently, I heard to the rumour mill whilst you were bored at this party.
Oh, I may have dabbled in some, the dark arts of gambling.
You say to gamble responsibly.
I do.
You're doing it unresponsibly.
No, that was responsibly.
That's a lie.
I wasn't drunk or anything. So
What
it's a sports bet.
You cheated on Neds.
We're not sponsored by them.
We will be, though. You cheated on them.
I mean, you're really a great person. Anyway, last week was boring, guys. It was boring. No footy.
Yeah, it was a tough week. I really struggled to get through the week.
Yeah.
We had AFLW, but it just didn't feel the same.
No, it didn't. I tried to watch, but even Collingwood and AFLW disappoints me. So.
Yeah, no, was it by a point in the end?
I don't know. I stopped watching. So, yeah, it was a difficult week, but it's okay. We're back. We're back this week for finals, and it's our finals preview today. See, we're ramped up for it.
I'm feeling really like I can just put a shin pad on, just start rucking some rock fuck, just tapping it around.
You're not Nick Butler.
I never said I was Nick Butler. I never said I was Nick Butler.
Anyway,
we
we got the preview.
Yes.
We'll also talk some tennis.
Yes.
US Open's on.
It is very exciting at the moment.
And football, my favourite sport. But it's pretty boring right now.
Yeah.
So
we probably should. I thought about it, but the Paralympics is on.
It is.
It is.
My favourite TikTok account.
Yes, they are very good on TikTok, but there's been some controversy, but it was very sort of, what's the word? Interesting to sort of see the different types of disciplines they have and how many athletes they actually get and how inspiring it is that even though they have either a mental or physical disability are still able to compete in the sports.
Yeah, I know. Because they're better than me.
Yeah.
I can't sprint for shit. So
Yeah, I saw the blind sprinters sprinted about 11 seconds, mate. I'm lucky to get there in 13 or 14.
mate, you're lucky to get off the couch nowadays.
Turn it up.
Absolutely, the Crows were right in front of me.
We're going to engage with our mind.
Well, do you think they didn't come to play? Do you think they sat in their cars waiting for the game to start and go out there?
So on Thursday night, the AFL had their awards night. They're probably second biggest night they have to sort of give all the awards out, besides obviously the Brownlow, Goalie and Mark of the Year. And we had a lot of different awards given out that night. And it was sort of awesome to see everyone who had a spectacular year acknowledged.
It was good. Marcus Bontempelli kind of ruined it because he got every single award possible, other than the Coaches Award, which was funny to see how much Isaac Heaney lost from not playing in that final round. He would have won, and he missed 3 games probably by the end of the season. That's pretty insane. But yeah, the Bont took out everything. Let's be real.
Yeah, look, wrapping up both the AFL Players Association MVP as well as AFL Players Association Best Captain, and was also named Captain of the All-Australian squad. That's a massive 3 big awards that he's racked up there. And it's almost like the players almost care more about the Players and Coaches Association awards, because it's less about how the umpires view them, more about how their peers, players and coaches view them.
Well, let's just remind ourselves, Taylor Adams got 3 votes last year for a 14 disposal game. So that pretty much describes how shit the Brownlow voting can be. I think the least in the MVP, it's voted by the players. So there's no way that they can go, well, they're a little bit biased because they'll have their players that they watch over the season and go, wow, and they'll ignore some bad games. But most of the time, it's pretty on the nose right.
Yes, and it's great. It's sort of not unbiased, but obviously their clubs can't vote on their same players, so they're having to look at the other teams and see who's had a good game from the opposition. So it sort of makes you not pay attention, well, obviously they're paying attention during the game, but they're more aware and more acknowledging of great performers, and that's probably why you've seen the likes of Bontempelli. I think this is his 3rd time he's won it, but he still never won a Brownlow. So to go from that, it's almost like he's probably taking this more as a prestigious award compared to the Brownlow, although the Brownlow has had the lineage that it's had.
Yeah, well, you still want to win a Brownlow. That's what most people want to do in their career. Let's be real. If you have your name in books like Matt Priddis, the GOAT, Adam Cooney, the GOAT, both of them Brownlow medalists.
Don't forget Joe Watson.
Oh, a few years later, mate. But this award still is a massive meaning, and it shows how dominant the Bont is, even without being probably likely the less vote-getter compared to Adam Treloar.
Yeah, 100% correct. And then you looked at some of the other awards given out. Obviously, you had the AFL Players Association Most Courageous Player was given to Zach Butters. The Players Association Best First Year Player was Harley Reid, as well as the Best Captain, obviously Marcus Bontempelli. Then you look at the coaching and the other awards. You had the likes of Nick Dacos win the champion. You had Ollie Dempsey win the Rising Star. Jesse Hogan Comel Medal. And I was interested to see they gave the Coach Award to Best Young Player just to give Harry Sheezel an award there.
Well, he does deserve it. He got robbed of something else later on, but he definitely deserved the Best Player, Young Player, because he is having a elite run. But all Australian team. There was some dodgy calls.
There was some very interesting people who were left out of the squad. I will agree.
Let's Royal Marshall not making it. We were talking about that last week. That was a highway robbery. Max Gawn getting over Cherry. Max Gawn over Cherry is already controversial enough because Max Gawn had a good year. Like people are pointing out, he still had a good year, but Cherry was one of the best tacklers, second best in the league. Had probably his best season as a North player, and was probably the only shining light other than Harry Sheezel for the whole season anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still shocked that I never knew that Nick Dacos was a winger. This is the first time I've ever seen this. Nick Dacos plays on the wing.
Did you also know that there's Chad Warner, half forward, Heaney, half forward?
Oh, but those two you can see because they did go spend a fair bit of time forward. So I can sort of see what they were thinking there. But they went from last year having such a... they wanted to have an actual team play. They selected in the positions. And then this year, they've just reverted back to their old ways and picked, I think it's 10 or 11 midfielders.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that also is the half-back flank. Zolko and Houston, both players neither of us had going into All-Australian. Where's Harry Sheezel? Probably better than both Zolko and Houston. Zolko had a great first half of the season, second half of the season dropped off massively. And then where on earth is Harris Andrews? Like,
Yeah, I think he was very stiff to miss out. I think it was obviously going to be between him or Wiedering. I think Wiedering obviously just edged him out. So they've gone with the 4 smalls and the 2 talls. But considering they went forward with the 3 talls, they probably could have gone 3 talls down back as well. Because I think he had a better season than the likes of your Houstons, your Zorkos, and even your Blakey and Ryan.
And it's just like, it's overall the team. They talk so much about how the team is built to be like an actual team that can go out and play on the weekend. This team, yes, going out on the weekend probably does win a match. But compared to what you could build with the best players this season, definitely not anywhere near.
The way I look at this list, you look at some of the names, they've mainly just, not obviously, it's not the main reason they've gone into it, but I look at it as like they've seen how many disposals people get. Like, if they got a lot of disposals, they're going to get in this team. Like, yes, that is true. But obviously, your tall forwards and your tall backmen, your key defenders, aren't going to get as much disposals. But they're sort of being left in the back and left to dust because obviously they're trying to keep getting the higher, not the higher players, the higher disposal getters in the team.
Well, Caleb Sarong's probably the biggest outlier with that. He averaged a lot of disposals, yes. Fairly inefficient for the second half of the season. Probably had the worst run right at the end. Was a non-factor in their choking. Like he was probably one of the major reasons he was not performing at what he was all season. And in that way, him still making it as a starter over Lockie Neal, who had a better year, Adam Treloar, D'Ambrosio missing the squad completely as an actual winger, Zach Merritt not making the squad. It's just a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of questions out of it, and I think they've got a couple of them right. I think obviously your captain and vice captain in Bont and Cripps were definitely correct. I think they were the 2 best leaders this year. Obviously, they were 1 and 2 in the captain's votes as well. But look, there's still a lot of way to go with that All-Australian because they reverted back to their own ways.
It's finals time, baby. It's finals time. We're not in it. So, like, realistically, actually...
Pies are out of the 8. Pies are out of the 8.
No, it's just more. I don't really need to care about these teams. But we're going to give our preview.
We are. But before we start, obviously, you got to follow one team going into finals as like a sort of like a supporter because you can't not follow a team there in the 8. So who are you going to follow this final series?
I'm thinking a bit of Hock Tour.
Oh, you're a coward.
I think flag Hock all the way. But if they lose to doggies, then doggies, bark, bark, bark.
What about the Blues?
Mate, I'd rather stab myself in the neck than follow the Blues.
No, you got to be nice because we're trying to get Musgrave next week. You got to be nice to me.
No, I'm going to cause conflict with him in the interview.
Hooray!
Anyway, first game up, it's Port versus Geelong at Adelaide Oval. Port are a 6-game win streak coming in. They're probably the hottest team coming into finals. They didn't have any little slip-ups at the end. And it's the best position in a long time for them to make the grand final.
I feel like from where they've gone from the start of the season, or even the middle of the season, when there was calls, obviously, to sack Ken Hinkley, they didn't have the greatest start to the position they're in now. Obviously, having such a good run into finals, they've made sure they've kept winning. Even in that last game, they didn't need to win against Freo to submit a top 2 position, but they still went out and they wanted to prove themselves. And in my opinion, as much as some of the other teams are in really good form, Port are my informed team going into finals.
They are, well, their 6-game win streak is what is going to carry them through. And it includes wins. Massive win over Sydney, remember? That was a flogging.
117, I believe.
Yeah, and then they also beat you guys. That was pretty funny. But they're showing some good form. Geelong at the same time, they have regained some form, but struggled against top sides. And then also St Kilda. St Kilda was a very big loss for them, much like it was for you. But I want to quickly say, these 2 teams statistically, like ball movement and everything, are 2 of the worst teams in ball movement. They have the least amount of disposals, both teams, throughout the final series. Only 3 teams are worse.
Geelong doesn't surprise me. I think obviously their midfield is been lacking the last couple of years. They've got some decent players in Holmes, and obviously Dangerfield's still a key player. But Port surprised me. I think, especially with the team they have in the likes of Wines, Butters, Rosie, Horn, Francis, to see him down low. and their movement, even across the ground, to see their efficiency isn't as strong as what people perceive it to be. It's sort of a bit of a shock, but I feel like this game could really... It really excites me, this game, because I could see it going either way, and I feel like both teams are very reliant on their defence holding up.
That's going to be the big question going into both teams, because Port and Geelong are both much different on the spectrum of goal scoring. Port are one of the most inaccurate teams in the comp right now. In the last 5 games, they're only 10th worse than the Doggies. And I think Brisbane might be close nearby. Geelong are, on the other hand, one of the most accurate teams you can possibly get. And even that's with Jeremy Cameron having his games where he'll kick 5 behinds, despite having an amazing game. Port and Geelong both rely so heavily on their defense. It's incredible. But Geelong, where this can be the big difference. Geelong is great on ground ball. They are just hard at it. Port are great at the centre clearance. They're currently the second best team, like when head to head in a match, in the centre clearances.
Well, you have a look at it. Port's midfield with the likes of Butters. You have Wines in there. You got Rosie. You can flip in Horn Francis. Put in both there if you need. And their clearance game is really good. And depending on who they have rucking at the moment, John Sweet's having a really good run at the moment. I think he might have missed the last game. I think he did play though. But they've got that midfield in tight, whereas obviously Geelong's midfield isn't as strong compared to the likes of Port. But it's really interesting to see how Geelong can seem to mitigate it and try and stop their clearance work. Obviously, their ground ball is really good, but their issue obviously is going to be in the ruck, I believe. Obviously, all year they've decided to play sort of no main ruck. They've tried to use a couple of different players from each position. And the likes of Jordan Sweet, who's a big, heavy ruckman, I don't think it won't pay off. And I think in that centre clearance could be the major difference between Port running away with the game or Geelong being able to stay with them.
It's going to be interesting to see how that ruck battle turns out. It's likely to be Sweet versus Stanley, which both, at the start of the season, no one expected them being a ruck finals matchup. Like, both of them have not had a name for a long time. Sweet never, really. So, it's both going to be interesting to see how they go. The other big thing is going to be Port inside 50. Now, they're not the greatest team at, they're great on one-on-ones, but once it gets on the ground, it's going to be tough for them to get a goal opportunity. But their tackles inside 50, they're the best team right now in tackles inside 50. This pressure against the Geelong side, which is going to have some inexperience down back right now, could be the difference.
Well, you look, their smalls, at least in Port's forward line, the likes of Willie Rioli and others, they're really sort of hard, gritty forwards. And obviously, Willie Rioli is probably their main one. Him leading at the front to get those. You saw it on the last game of the season when Willie kicked 2 in the last quarter. His work on the ground, getting tackles, and then obviously clearing it up. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Geelong. And I feel like if Geelong can sort of just even hold it or try and even mitigate their tackles, they'll keep putting pressure and be able to get it out. Because Geelong as well are one of the best teams moving from defensive 50 to forward 50. So with Port putting all that pressure on, trying to hold it in, it could be a state where Geelong can go coast to coast and get goals from there.
Look, this game is going to be a slugfest, let's not be wrong. They're both not able to move the ball that well, except less kicking down the line. Both teams are exceptionally high in kicks and kick percentage. This game's going to be a slugfest. Who do you think's going to win?
I think that Port are hard to go against. I think their form, obviously 6 wins in a row, is undeniable. And I think the way they're playing is actually the most exciting footy they've played in years. So I think Port will get away with a win here for about 30 to 35 points.
I think Port, historically, when they're home in a qualifying final, last time they played was 2021, and they absolutely smashed Geelong. I don't see much different. I reckon that'll be a 40-point win.
We now go to the Friday night blockbuster between Western Bulldogs and the Hock Tours. And this is Hawthorn's first Friday night game, primetime game, since 2022.
This is also their first final series since 2018. They've hardly had any primetime games this year. And they come in and they have a massive, massive final. It is going to be immense. This
will be a massive crowd at the G. And you look at both teams coming in with such hot form. Obviously, the Doggies have only lost twice since the bye round. And then you look even at Hawthorn, they've been such a steamroll, beating the likes of Carlton by 80 and other teams. they've really sort of proven themselves, and both teams will be unlucky to miss out on a semi-final berth because they've had such a good season, especially from that second half, about round 10 onwards.
Well, Doggy's first part of flashing the potential that we've had for a long time. This list should be competing for flags each year. Now, say what you want about Bev, say what you want about the list in general, like the defense is not the greatest, but it's showing that it has potential. Liam Jones obviously is having a bit of a flash at the end of the season. We go, oh. Otherwise, this team is showing the potential that we've been seeing for a long time. The Bont obviously having a great season. Adam Treloar stepping up massively now. Then have on the wing they have McRae, Caleb Daniel, all players who've been out of it all year, and they're coming up big in the last few moments.
Well, even looking at the likes in their forward line, you look at Jamari Uguhagan in his last 6 games. Yes, he had 1 or 2 games, it was inaccurate, but he's looked like one of the best forwards in the comp the last couple of weeks. The way he's been able to get the ball into him and his aerial grabs is second to none in the comp. And I think, say he brought this from the start of the season, you could be saying he could be competing for the Coleman medal.
Well, you look at that. You look at how just their forward line is playing in general. Darcy only a few weeks back had one of the best game of his career. It was amazing. Norton's come back in and looked very natural because he had a very shaky start to the year, had a couple good games, and then has been in and out since he got that first injury. This is something that Doggies you don't see them happening much. The last time it looked this good was 2021.
I think they've got a massive chance here, and they really can prove themselves in finals. But coming up against opposition like Hawthorn, who started the season off 0-6, to turn their season around like they have is one of the biggest turnarounds in the season I reckon we've seen in years.
Well, it's not just how they did it. It's like they've gone out and won nearly every game since, like 60 points, 70 points. You generally don't see a game where it's not exciting. Because even when your team's getting battered by 60, like I experienced, you still you watch in awe because Hawthorn are moving the ball so well. Their uncontested game is leaps and bounds above anyone else, and there's a reason why the number 1 ranked team coming into the last 5 games, they're playing elite football.
Yes, and the likes, obviously they lost 2 games after the bye as well to Geelong and GWS, where they only just lost in the final minute. They've really sort of shown that this young core group they have can be dangerous. Their ball movement from half back to their forward line is almost unstoppable. The way they are able to move it so quickly from the likes of Amon, Newcomb and all those, just their ball movement is scary to watch at times. It really makes it an interesting battle for opposition to try and hinder what Hawks are doing.
Well, you look at this team also defensively. Like you look at them, Sam Frost and James Sicily, 2 players who aren't playing in a regular team as key defenders. They're right now playing some of their best footy of their careers. Sicily could have probably been an All-Australian. This is stuff that you don't really see from a team like this. The only team that was better in the last 5 games, one-on-one, was Collingwood in defence. Now, Collingwood's defence is shaky at the best of the times, but the last 5 games, they were very good. This Hawthorn team should not be playing like that. Their forward line, Marby or Chol, where has this come from? Mitch Lewis going down and injured, you think, oh, season's over in their forward line. Marby or Chol came in and played like nothing has been going on at all.
Well, ever since they lost Lewis, they've had to find someone to replace him. And yes, Chol has been a massive factor. But you look at other small forwards, like you have Dylan Moore, who's had an outstanding year. He got selected in the All-Australian, deservingly. Even the likes of Nick Watson coming in, obviously he struggled at the start of the season, got dropped. To come in and turn around his sort of season and prove that he was deserving of a top 5, top 10 pick. And the way he plays, it's sort of the reliance on Lewis and their bigs has changed. And they're playing a really good brand of small ball. But when you come up against the likes of the Doggies, who are such a tall team, the likes of, you got Lob in the back line and Liam Jones in the forward line, Ugle-Hagan, Norton, it's going to really be an interesting battle to see if that tall brand of footy is going to work or that small, fast-paced footy.
Well, I expect this match to be a war of attrition. Both teams play very distinct styles. Doggies will get in there and win the contested game. They're right now the best team contested in the comp. Like, that's all you need to know. They are a team that goes in, gets the ball, gets it forward. Hawks, on the other hand, are the third best for uncontested possessions, and moving the ball, they are just different. So you got to look at that and you got to see which team can get their style going most, because whoever does that is going to be winning.
I think it's going to be a very interesting game. They'll get a massive crowd there. They're expecting about 90+ thousand. But, Jonty, who do you think will get up in this match?
Well, as much as I want the Hawks to win, I think Doggy's probably going to go in there and bully the midfield. They've got the three best midfielders, midfield trio. They're going to go do that. And the Hawks going to have to adapt to playing in a contested game. You look at the games like Giants and Geelong, both where they're good contested teams, they've struggled. I think Doggies will probably go out and they'll score plenty of points, but they'll probably just win.
I think I'm on the same boat as you. I think that Hawthorn, as much as they've had a stellar year, I think finals inexperience is going to hurt them. I think the Doggies are used to it. I think they'll run out early. I think the Hawks will try and come back, but I think it'll be too late, and the Doggies will be able to just hinder their momentum, and I think the Dogs will win by about 30 or so points.
Hooray!
All right, Sydney Derby. We already kind of bored by this game. This game is going to be a wash in Sydney.
I think both teams, kudos, have had stellar years, and it'll be a good game. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like they're not going to have that crowd atmosphere. Both from a town that don't really care about football, so it's going to hurt. But look, we're still going to recap it. I think it's going to be still a stellar game. You look, Sydney have struggled since the bye. They've been 7-5. Shaky start. Obviously, that game against Port Adelaide was probably their biggest hinder they had. But they currently got a 3-game winning streak. They've found some form back. And in my opinion, still are the team to beat going into finals. They've had such a stellar year. Obviously, their midfield is stacked. Their defense has held up well. Their forward line has had little issues, but I think they've found form at the moment. And then coming against the Giants team, who are riding a wave of success at the moment.
Well, they were until they hit the brick wall of Ballarat. We mentioned it last week. Ballarat is no place the team wants to play. So they went to Ballarat, lost to Doggies, and their 7-game win streak now is poof. The Giants need to be riding momentum that they had before that game. They need to wash that from their head because they, up to that point, were the team to beat going in there. Port might have looked impressive, but Giants, after their game against Carlton, completely turned it around. It's going to be a game where both teams statistically over the last 5 games, completely average. Even with Giants going on that winning streak, they'll completely average. The only difference Giants have is they have been the most accurate team in the comp. That is the only difference, and that's why Sydney need to hold out and make sure the defensive system is sticking on Hogan, Cadman, Daniels, Green, everyone there to make sure that they're holding back.
Yeah, and you look at this season, Sydney have won both games this year, and they hold momentum, like you said. But if you look at statistical in history, GWS, the last 2 times they've played each other in the finals, GWS are 2-0. So you look at regular season, Sydney obviously dominated this year, but then finals, it's GWS who have dominated. So it's really like I'm weighing up who I should go with because both have been really good and both have their moments where they'll be glimpsing and show a lot of promise. But it's going to be the team who can just hold on enough. And I don't feel like it's going to be a blowout game.
It's going to be a tight one. Let's be honest. What GWS needs, though, is they need to have their young players step up. Callahan has stepped up massively in the second half of the season. Darcy Jones has had a brilliant season for someone who probably wasn't getting a look earlier. Harvey Thomas has had a great season. These are Aaron Cadman. After last year, the disaster that was last year, has become a solid enough second option. So this team could do it. And whoever does win this probably has an easier run to the grand final.
I struggle going past Sydney here. I think they're a really good team, well drilled, and I think they've got a lot of promise, and I think they'll just get over the line.
I think this is where Sydney choke it again. Sydney love a good choke. They do it all the time. And this will be another one. I think the Giants, they love a finals game. They will come to play and they'll win.
Now for, in my opinion, the most important game of the finals rounds, but obviously it's probably going to be the least entertaining game. It's Brisbane vs Carlton, and both teams, in my opinion, are the 2 most non-informed teams going into finals.
You could have asked for a worse game going in the week 1 of finals. Carlton, who have had no one for the last few weeks, all their best players are injured. They've gone, how many games in the last have you actually won?
I think we've won 1 out of our last 6. I think we beat North, and that's it.
No, well, you beat West Coast.
Oh, we beat West Coast. I forgot about West Coast.
So you beat 2 of the bottom 3. Like, that should describe how much Carlton looking forward to finals. And then Brisbane, they looked like they had the world at their feet, and then they just kind of started choking, and then they got one easier game against Essendon, and now they're like, oh, we're back.
Well,
This game's going to be boring as shit.
It's really going to be a tale of who can actually somehow just find some form in the game. Obviously, you look at the likes of Brisbane, their main issue that they have to address is their behinds and their goal kicking. Obviously, probably being the worst team in front of goals all year, especially in the second half of the year. And that's going to be an issue coming into finals where goals are so much more important now than regular season. And it's going to be, especially their key forward like a Danaher and Hipwood, they're going to have to really lift and make sure they're kicking straight.
Their season has been this tale of two stories. At the start, terrible. That was a terrible start. Then they just completely dominated for a good period. There was generally a thought that maybe Brisbane were going to just go undefeated for the rest of the year. Then they started to struggle again. Brisbane, they're getting a bit of the yips. Not completely. They're still winning matches. But if they continue to kick like they are, they'll kick themselves out of the finals.
Now, you look at Carlton, they've been torn to shreds by injuries this year, losing the likes of Curnow, Mackay, DeConey, Martin. It's really sort of, they hit a brick wall since the bye and have really struggled. You look at the team we brought out against West Coast and St Kilda, very much a VFL list with a lot of young players who probably aren't developed or at the standard what you want to be having an AFL team. But I think Carlton are lucky they push into finals because they're getting players back now. Expected to play. You got Charlie Curnow's expected back. You got Harry. You got DeConey should be back. And even the likes of, rumoured today, that Sam Doherty might be available for this week. He passed his fitness training on Saturday and he's put his hand up for availability for Thursday night.
Is that a good idea, though? Let's quickly... We've had this discussion before on the podcast. Bringing back a guy for one match, a trip on a plane, by the way, up to Queensland to play after missing the whole season. He's going to be rusty. He's going to probably be a little bit unfit. I know fitness tests will pass, but you still have to get match fitness. It's something you build over the years.
I do agree, but I don't think there is a good enough players that would be above his ability that can be playing on Saturday night. I feel like very much weak at the moment, especially since we moved Zach Williams into the forward line. I think we do need him in the team, even just for his leadership. I think he's an impactful player for Carlton. People look up to him and want to play for him. But with the likes of the players coming back, I do think there is hope for Carlton supporters. And you look at it, two teams who are very much contested clearance getters. It's going to be very interesting seeing who can come on top in those clearance battles.
Well, both are clearance getters, but the difference will be Brisbane will look to make it at stoppages. They are the best team at stoppages. Centre clearances, they aren't the biggest built bodies, so it makes sense. But at a stoppage where you can get some space, you can get it out, McInerney can just go bang like that. It is going to be Brisbane looking to get it out wide, get it to a stoppage, and then just blast off. There's something... Carlton... The hope, this is the hope right now. I hope after the first quarter it's pop. Because you need to understand that you've been a bottom 5 team for the last 5 weeks. Understandable. You've had a lot of injuries. But you still had Curnow for half of those. And before that, even then, you were still a bottom half team at that point in time. There is a lot of issues going on at Carlton. And I don't think you have the momentum going anywhere near you, even the hope in the actual club.
Yeah, but you look at, even though we did have the likes of Charlie Curnow, we still had so many injuries. I think once we lost to Coney, everything went downhill. He's sort of like he's our middle stick he's our glue almost. I think the way he plays, and in a couple of years, he'll probably be one of the best ruckmen in the league. He pretty much provides so much for us. And when you bring the likes of Pitney, he obviously struggles a bit more. But with the Coney coming back in, and I believe he will play, I think he's going to provide a different spark that Carlton missed. And look, I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than you think.
No.
Because I'm going to make a bold call here. I think Carlton are going to win by 12 points.
It's delusion.
No, I don't.
What happened last year?
Yeah, but what happened at the start of the year? We beat them up at the Gabba.
Yeah.
It's 1-1.
Remember what Brisbane did after that? They lost 3 games in a row. They lost 4 games in a row.
We've learnt. And did you not see what our coach, Michael Voss, did last week. Imagine the boys are going to be thinking, our coach stopped a car robbery. They're going to be up and about.
It doesn't matter. He's not there on the field, is he?
We're going to have that dog in us. We're going to go, woo, woo. We're going to win, and we're going to move on to next game.
You're going to have exactly what happened last year. You're going to be so hyped up. You're going to have a great first quarter. Everyone's going to be going, "Oh my god, we're going to make the grand final," and then instantly pop. Brisbane come back, win by 50, and you'll be sitting there going, "Oh, it's going to be the end of your season. Brisbane win, and the season will finally be fucking over for you."
Oh, I disagree, but we'll come back next week. And the podcast is either going to be one of the most exciting things to ever witness, or I'm not rocking up.
Bit poor. It is finally the good sport. I'm kidding. I like AFL. But football / soccer, if you're a bogan.
Soccer.
It's here once again, and the funniest thing happened this week.
Oh, this is a great story.
So recently, Patrick Yazbek, he's been playing in Scandinavia for the last few years, and he recently just moved to the MLS, and he started his first year. He's at Nashville, his first game, and he gets suspended for 2 games. Now, what do you reckon he did?
Oh, I'd imagine maybe 2-foot a ref or something.
No. That would be 1 game. Do you want to guess over there?
No, I can't say that.
Okay.
Bad thought.
All right. Well, he actually said a word we're not allowed to say here anymore.
No, we can probably say it.
No.
We can just bleep it out.
No, well... All right, well, he said, "See you in the NT."
He said...
So, I'm so sorry, Kath.
No. We got long enough for the show. It's fine. We'll bleep it out.
Anyway, so he's got banned for 2 weeks for that. It's the most imagine the MLS referee was in MLS, they were just in Australia for a week. Imagine an A-League game. I reckon I hear that about 20 million times from all the players on the field.
They're just different over in that side of the world. The Americans, so what? I've probably heard racial slurs said over in that league, and they probably got a fine. But apparently, the C word gets you a 2-game suspension.
It's because you can't show it on TV.
It just doesn't make sense. You look at every other league, they will just let it happen. But look, they're sticking by their guns, and it's cool. Not cool. It's not cool.
It's not cool.
It's not cool. It's cool to say that word. It's not cool to find people like that. But
you are terrible for kids. You'd be the worst role model of all time.
if I'm not allowed, what was I going to say?
Hooray!
How we going here, James?
Great. Keep going, boys.
Now, on other news. This is a big one, because this is one of my favourite childhood players. Juan Mata has been linked to a possible move to Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, I hate that, because I hate the Wanderers. But it would be great for him to be in the A-League.
I genuinely think, obviously, with the Douglas Costa move, last week we covered going to Sydney FC. I think if Juan Mata was to come to the A-League and Western Sydney Wanderers, this would be bigger than Douglas Costa. I think he's such a world-renowned name. Obviously, Spanish legend who's played for the last 10 years for his country, United. Obviously, we're both United supporters, so we love to see it. But he brings such a smile to people's faces, and he's such a happy guy.
He is. Now, the one thing is that, and this has been a point that's been made about Douglas Costa all week, is that he's nowhere near where he was as a prime player. And I know we like to sign up our washed up players, but it's starting to become a concerning trend. We've been seeing teams actually try to go younger this year. If we see 2 major stars come in that are both older, that's my only issue with this all.
Yes, I do agree. I think the A-League is looking to try and take themselves away from what having the old players who are washed up come to the league. But I think the name value is enough to bring fans to the games and bring more revenue. And it's what the A-League's looking for. Obviously, they struggle with salary caps and bringing money to the league. You bring these players in, that will bring more money in and hopefully then increase the salary cap and money spending for clubs to be able to go. Now we're going to switch it up here on the Uneducated Nuffies. We're going to look at a sport we haven't had a look at yet on the show, and that is tennis, with the US Open on now, the last major Grand Slam for the season.
Well, I could have been professional, you know that, right?
Turn it up.
No, I'm not joking. I only made a rep squad.
You made the rep squad in Bendigo.
No, I nearly did.
So you didn't even make the rep squad in Bendigo.
Yeah, you know, everyone in front of me had sponsorships. That's why I made it.
That's the most... No, that's enough. That's terrible. Moving on. Now, we've had a couple big upsets at the US Open, but one of the biggest, Alexei Popyrin defeated Novak Djokovic in 4 sets. What a win for the Aussies.
It is a major win for the Aussies. Now, Djokovic, I hate the guy. I wish we kept him out of the country.
Hooray!
Because he ruined my childhood. Because I just wanted Nadal to win everything.
Oh, I was very much a Nadal fan too.
And so, when Djokovic would win, unless it was Stan the Man, because Stan the Man was great.
Stan Wawrinka. Stan Wawrinka. I can't even say his last name.
It's Wawrinka, I think.
But
it's good to see him lose and an Australian to do it in Popyrin, who I forgot was Aussie, to be fair.
yes,
But it's great to see.
and he had a great win. He won, if you weren't sure, he won in 4 sets, 6-4, 6-4, 2-6, and then 6-4 in the final set. But another interesting fact, it's the first time since 2002 that neither Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, or Rafael Nadal haven't won a Grand Slam in the calendar year.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought of a time when they weren't dominating. But obviously, Federer's retired now. Nadal's on his final year. Djokovic, we don't know when he'll end.
I think he's still up there for a couple of years. He's still playing decent enough tennis. But it's really an interesting fact. Obviously, you had at the Australian, you had Yannick Sinner, and then Wimbledon and French Open have both gone to Carlos Alcaraz, who also crashed out in the US Open in the second round. But we still do have some Aussies in competition, with Alex de Minaur playing against his Australian counterpart, Jordan Thompson, in the 4th round. Obviously, this morning, Alexei Popyrin fell short, losing to TFO in 4 sets. But I think this is probably de Minaur's best chance to win a maiden Grand Slam.
Well, if all the major contenders are out of the way, there's still a few, obviously, but the ones who give him a major challenge, because he has struggled against most of the people who now are out, it's a good chance for him to actually make it.
We're backing you all the way, de Minaur.
Right, real close, and then they go...
No, it has to be the same distance. It has to be a little bit fair.
Oh, well, it's about 20 metres, max.
Okay, so 20 minutes. Bang. I'm literally going to put cement in my water bottle and go.
Now we're back with the best segment.
I think it's a segment everyone looks to most each week.
It is. Well, at least us two. It's Melon of the Week. Once again, if you're on this list, you're an absolute melon. I know it's groundbreaking.
It's, again, I'll repeat it each week. It's a list you don't want to be... Oh, you already said that, didn't you? It's a list you don't want to be on.
You should be on this list again, mate.
Turn it up. All right, number 5 this week, we have Sanith Thagala. So the golf had one of their major events, the Tour Championship, the end of the season, and it was coming down to the wire. Scotty Scheffler was dominating, but we had a run from Sanith Thagala. He was having a great run, and on the 3rd hole, he got caught in a bunker, and he accidentally, slightly hit the sand. And in golf, if you hit the sand before hitting the ball, it's a 2-stroke penalty. But no one noticed it until the end of the hole, where he penalised himself with a 2-stroke penalty. And so if you took away his 2-stroke penalty he got at the end of the round, he would have been around 3 or 4 shots off the lead. So he pretty much cost himself a chance by trying to take the moral victory out of it.
Well, that's just because, smartness.
Oh, no, I disagree, but that's just... I get that you're trying to be honest here, but you got to win. With a $25 million prize pool if you come first, why would you try and get away with it?
You're a melon.
Yes.
So at number 4, it is the funny part of the AFLW for the week, it was Kirby Bentley. Now, she's commentating right now, and she said something a little bit silly. All right, she's in the booth, and they're talking about one of the players, and they're talking about how athletic she is, and she may have pointed out that she originally thought this player was black because of her athleticism.
I'm not going to comment on this because I have pre-contractual agreements, but the footage doesn't help her situation.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. But at least we're on this list. Good work, Herbie.
Now, at number 3, we have good old Kane Corns. Now, during the week, Kane Corns signed a major deal to move from Channel 9 to Channel 7 on a major broadcast deal. But as many people know, Kane Corns isn't one who makes good friends. He's not friendly with many people.
Well, just look at the way he treated Trent Cotchin this year.
Yes, and now he's going across to Channel 7, where he has to work with the likes of Cameron Moody, who he did not make very good likes with, Cameron Link, who he also took shots at, Trent Cotchin. So there's been a lot of mixed opinions here. And look, Kane, you had a great deal at 9. I know you want to get onto Channel 7's books because obviously that's the big show what everyone wants to be on. But you haven't given yourself much lucky with the friends you're making. So maybe next time, Kane, instead of shit-talking these blokes back in time, maybe try and be a little bit nicer to them. So then when you go across to them, you already have a good relationship. That's how colleagues work.
No. This isn't LinkedIn. This is Channel 7. All right? I don't want to hear that. He's a dumb man.
No, I like Kane, but he hasn't made many friends. But Kane, this week, you're a melon.
Now, number 2 was once again, this is a funny one. These are some funny melons this week. Now, the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, this whole team in college football in America has had a major rebrand with new head coach Deion Sanders. Now, last year, they were one of the most overhyped teams of all time. And this year, they start off their season against a team in the 1AA or FCS, which is a division below where they are. Now, one thing that came out from the game is that they've now started playing their QB song. He released a song over the summer. QB song. He's also the son of the head coach, Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. Every time a touchdown scored, that song plays. And it is the biggest gloating of all time to have your own son's song, your own song playing every time he scores a touchdown. Or you get a rushing touchdown, which he doesn't do. It's very funny. And you are a melon, Colorado.
It's very important.
No thanks.
It's very poor, but it's not number 1. And number 1 belongs to our friends over the other side of the world. It is the New England captain, Ollie Pope. So he was recently named captain, yes, of the England squad. Yeah, because I think what's his name stepped down as captain. So Ollie Pope's the new captain of England. And in his first test against Sri Lanka, there is I can't remember who was batting, but it looked like there was a bit of movement between the bat and the ball, obviously going to the keeper, a bit of deviation. However, and they looked to review it. Ollie Pope said, let's look at it, because Joe Root was convinced. And then you look at the review, the ball's missed the bat by about 15, 20 centimetres. Like, there's a massive gap in between it. Or maybe not 15, 20 centimetres, maybe like 5, 10 centimetres. But it was a big gap. It's one of the worst reviews I've seen in a long time. And I've seen some bad Pat Cummins reviews. This one was bad. When the ball was missing by that much, and you're thinking, oh, I reckon he's hit it. I heard something. You heard nothing. There was no wooden sound whatsoever. That was a terrible review. You based it off the ball moving when it came off the scene. So Ollie Pope, you stupid pom, you're a melon.
Now, aren't they also cheating? Didn't they get caught cheating?
Did they?
I think so. I can't remember what
I've heard.
I heard it on Kick It Forward, which we're stealing Kane Corns from Kick It Forward. So we're gonna have to pay them somehow.
I'm searching this up because I reckon they have. Because it's not unlike them to cheat. I haven't seen anything here, but let's just say they have cheated because it's always good to blame the Poms for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they win as much as they want, so we can go back at them.
Stupid Poms. Now, before we finish the show, we always like to dabble in a bit of the fine arts. And this week, we have another edition of the Nuffies Multi.
Now, as I always have to say, it's Oh my god, I can't even speak.
Gamble not responsibly.
No, gamble responsibly.
What?
Yeah, no, you're bad at that. But gamble
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
See, he will let us gamble.
No, he can't now, unfortunately. Rest in peace.
In peace.
But gamble responsibly, please. But this is for Port versus Geelong. Now, this game, as much as it's a snooze fest, should at least have some good results for you.
That's the result you want. But our first leg we've got on this multi, we're going with Port Adelaide to win by 1-39. And that's paying $2.05. I think there's some good odds there.
Now, next up, Lawson Humphreys. He's been a breakout star. Remember when Kane Corns blasted Geelong for trading for low-round picks? Lawson Humphreys is exactly why you want a low-round pick. Now, he, for 15 disposals, is paying $1.24. We think that's going to hit.
Now, North Melbourne's former number one pick, Jason Horne-Francis, playing really good footy this year at Port.
The horny one.
He's having a really good work, the horny one. We're going to put him for 20-plus disposals, playing off half-back a bit more. He's able to run on there, and he's paying $1.44.
Now, if I mentioned over the last 5 years, who you reckon it would be 2 goals?
Brendan Favola.
Well, he hasn't played for the last 5 years. Jeremy Cameron. He's always good for 2 goals, unless he's missing every single shot available to him. But it's finals time. He's going to be here. He's going to get 2 goals. That's paying $1.53.
And our final leg, we're going to go here. We look at the likes of Butters and Rosie. They're very talented players, but they're going to get probably tagged a bit. But we're looking at Ollie Wines here. I think he's had a really good second half of the season. And for 25-plus disposals, paying $1.65, I think that's really good value because I reckon he's going to lot the ball. Now,
that totals up to $11.37. Put $1 on, you get a nice drink out. Can't complain.
Hooray!
Now, that's the end of the episode for this week of the Uneducated Nuffies, episode 5. How's the pod, man?
I think we had a good pod. We had a lot of different and new, exciting formulas. Soundboards obviously coming in great effect. Thanks, producer.
No worries.
Otherwise, it's interesting. We'll be back for an actual recap next week. We won't be just sitting here talking about teams.
This could be a very happy pod or sad pod next week. We'll find out.
It depends if you're here.
I'm going to try and rock up.
Saturday night's going to be a very funny night.
I'm not looking forward to Saturday night because as much as I think we might win, I'm just scared. But besides that, thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe to our social channels on Instagram and TikTok. My name's Ethan Stone.
I'm John T. Perry.
Stay Nuffin.